Rain poured over the city, slicking the streets with reflective puddles that glimmered under the harsh streetlights. Amara's shoes were torn, her coat thin and soaked through, and yet she ran, clutching her small backpack, as if it were the only thing keeping her alive. Heavy footsteps echoed behind her, and fear pressed against her chest like a vice. She stumbled over a broken curb and fell hard, scraping her hands and knees. Her breath came in shallow, ragged gasps. "Please, someone help me," she whispered, voice barely audible over the rain. A shadow detached itself from the darkness. Polished shoes stepped into view. Amara looked up, eyes wide with disbelief. Standing there, umbrella in hand, was a man in a crisp designer suit, his expression calm yet intense. The rain slid off his tailored coat, pooling at his feet. "You're safe now," he said gently, extending a hand. Amara's lips parted, her mind racing. A billionaire. Here. Now. Why him? She hesitated, shivering violently, and then his eyes softened in a way that made her instinct to flee falter. "Come on," he urged. "I won't let anyone hurt you." Her stomach twisted with fear and disbelief. Still, exhaustion and the sting of her scraped knees won out over fear. She grabbed his hand and he helped her to her feet, steadying her with a strength that made her almost want to cry. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible. "You don't have to thank me yet," he said with a small smile. "We'll get you somewhere safe first." He gestured toward his car parked a few feet away. Amara noticed the tinted windows, the polished black paint, the sense of power it radiated. She wanted to run, wanted to vanish into the shadows where life was familiar, but her body betrayed her. She was too tired, too hungry, too wet. The billionaire opened the door for her without a word. She climbed in quietly, shivering, and he shut the door gently behind her. The engine started, and the hum of the car blended with the rain's relentless patter. "I'm Jin-woo," he said after a moment, breaking the tense silence. "Park Jin-woo." Amara stared at him, unsure whether to speak. Most people in his world didn't know what real fear or hunger felt like. Yet here he was, offering her safety without judgment. "Why? Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because someone once helped me," he replied simply, eyes focused on the road but softened by memory. "And I never forgot it." Amara's chest tightened. She didn't know how to respond. She wasn't used to kindness. It felt foreign, almost dangerous. By the time they reached his mansion, the storm had eased slightly, leaving the streets glistening under the city lights. He guided her through the large front gates, the sheer size and elegance of the estate intimidating her. She hadn't imagined wealth like this in her life, only on television, in magazines, never in person. "Stay here," Jin-woo said, pointing to a guest room. "You can rest. You're safe." Amara sank onto the edge of the bed, the warmth of the room making her shiver ease slightly. She curled into herself, feeling a strange mix of gratitude, fear, and disbelief. Jin-woo didn't rush her. He left her alone for a few minutes, giving her space, yet his presence lingered, a silent assurance. When he returned with a blanket and a hot cup of tea, Amara's hands trembled as she accepted it. "Drink this slowly," he instructed softly. "It'll help you warm up." She nodded, staring into the amber liquid, reluctant to believe in such comfort. "You don't have to tell me anything yet," he said, sitting across from her, giving her silence as a choice rather than a demand. Minutes passed. The rain continued to fall outside, and the mansion seemed impossibly quiet, almost unreal to her senses. Finally, Amara spoke, voice cracking. I don't even know if I should be here. I'm nothing. I have nothing. You are not nothing, Jin-woo said firmly, leaning forward. No one is nothing. Everyone has worth, even when the world tries to tell them otherwise. Amara's eyes filled with tears, a mixture of fear, relief, and the fragile hope she hadn't felt in months. I just want to survive, she whispered. I know, he said, his voice low and steady. And you will, I promise you. There was a long pause, only the sound of her quiet sobs filling the room. Jin-woo reached out, hesitated, and then placed a reassuring hand on hers. You're safe now, he repeated. She didn't respond, too overwhelmed by the kindness she hadn't known in so long. Hours passed. Amara drifted into sleep, exhausted from months on the streets, her body finally letting go of the tension it had carried for so long. Jin-woo watched her from the doorway, conflicted thoughts crossing his mind. This girl had been through hell, and yet there was something in her eyes, strength, resilience, that reminded him of the path he had taken to get where he was. The next morning, Amara woke to a breakfast tray at her bedside, the aroma of warm food making her stomach twist with hunger she hadn't allowed herself to acknowledge. Jin-woo entered, as if he had been expecting her to wake. You need to eat, he said, setting the tray down. You can't start rebuilding yourself on an empty stomach. Amara stared at the food. She had survived on scraps, and now this. This was almost surreal. Thank you, she whispered again. I don't even know your name. I'm Jin-woo, he said with a small smile. And I mean it. You don't have to thank me. Just survive. That's enough for now. She nodded slowly, taking the first tentative bite of food. Each mouthful reminded her of what she had been missing. Warmth, nourishment, normalcy. Jin-woo watched her eat quietly, giving her the space she needed, yet his mind was racing. He had seen her struggle on the streets, her fear, her exhaustion. He had felt the pull to help, and now he wondered how he could do more than just provide temporary shelter. You know, he said, softly, after a moment of silence, you can stay here as long as you need. No questions, no judgments, just safety. Amara's eyes welled up again, but this time they were not just from fear. They were from relief, from gratitude, from a fragile hope she hadn't dared to feel in months. I don't deserve this, she murmured. Yes, you do, he replied firmly. Everyone deserves kindness, and everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. Her hand twitched slightly, almost reaching for his. She caught herself, unsure if this was real, unsure if anyone could ever care for her without expecting something in return. Jin-woo noticed, but he said nothing, letting her emotions flow at her own pace. The camera pans over Amara quietly, taking her first full, uninterrupted meal in what felt like an eternity. Her expression is complex, relief, disbelief, and the faintest flicker of hope. Before the next scene, a soft voiceover addresses the audience. If you've ever felt like no one cares, remember, kindness can come from the most unexpected places, and sometimes it changes everything. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to follow Amara's journey, because this story is just beginning. Amara finished her meal, and Jin-woo helped her stand, showing her the guest room that would be hers for as long as she needed. You can rest now, he said. Tomorrow, we'll start thinking about the next step. Not for me, for you. She nodded silently, finally allowing herself to believe, even if just a little, that maybe someone could care without ulterior motives. That night, Amara lay in the soft bed, wrapped in blankets, listening to the faint hum of the mansion and the distant city. She thought of the streets, of the rain, of the fear that had defined her life for months. And for the first time, she felt a spark, a small, fragile hope that perhaps, just perhaps, her life could change. The next morning, Amara woke to the soft golden light filtering through the large windows. The mansion was quiet, almost impossibly still, and for a moment, she felt like she was dreaming. She stretched, rubbing the sleep from her eyes, and realized she hadn't felt this rested in months, maybe even years. Jin-woo appeared shortly after, holding a cup of tea and a warm smile. "Good morning," he said simply. "Sleep well?" I think so," Amara replied cautiously, unsure how to measure such a strange new sensation. "I can't remember the last time I actually slept through the night." "You needed it," Jin-woo said, handing her the cup, "and you're going to need more. Starting today, things are going to be different. For real this time." Amara sipped the tea, warmth spreading through her chest. "Different? How?" she asked, curiosity and caution battling in her mind. "Different in a way that doesn't involve fear, hunger, or running," he said. "You'll have time, space, and resources. You'll have choices again. But you need to be honest with me about your past if this is going to work." She hesitated, swallowing a lump in her throat. No one had ever asked her to share her story without judgment before, but something in Jin-woo's steady gaze made her feel she could try. I lost my mum about a year ago," she began quietly, voice trembling. "She got sick. I was too young to do anything. My dad, he became someone I couldn't stay with. I ran, and then..." Her voice cracked, and she swallowed hard. "I ended up on the streets." Jin-woo remained silent, letting her words settle. When she finished, he nodded slowly. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice low but sincere. "That's a lot for anyone to go through. I can't imagine." "You don't have to imagine," Amara muttered, hugging her knees. "I lived it." "And now," Jin-woo said gently, "you don't have to live it alone anymore." Amara looked up at him, tears brimming. "Why are you helping me? You have your world, your life. You're not just anything," Jin-woo interrupted, his tone firm. "You're a person, and every person deserves a chance to rebuild, no matter what they've been through." The sincerity in his words disarmed her. She had spent months hiding in shadows, avoiding strangers, and yet here was someone offering her safety without conditions, without questions. She wanted to believe him, even if a part of her was still terrified that it was a trap. The days that followed were a delicate balance. Amara slept, ate, and slowly began to regain strength. Jin-woo gave her tasks small enough to not overwhelm her, organizing her belongings, helping in the kitchen, or just walking in the gardens with him. Every step, every conversation, deepened a fragile trust. One afternoon, as Amara swept the floors of the guest quarters, Jin-woo entered carrying a folder of papers. He watched her for a moment, the sunlight highlighting the determination in her face. "You're stronger than you realize," he said softly. She froze, broom in hand. "I'm not strong," she said bitterly. "I'm just lucky to survive." "Surviving is a form of strength," Jin-woo countered. "But I see something in you that's more than that. Resilience, courage, even if you don't believe it yet." Amara paused, staring at him. She wanted to argue, to dismiss his words, but she couldn't. They felt true. As the days turned into weeks, Amara started opening up more. She told Jin-woo about the fear that had stalked her on the streets, about the strangers who tried to take advantage of her vulnerability, and about the nights she spent shivering under bridges. Jin-woo listened without judgment, sometimes offering advice, sometimes just sitting silently beside her. "You've been through hell," he said one evening as they sat on the balcony watching the city lights. "And yet, you're here. You're still standing. That's incredible." "I'm scared," Amara admitted quietly, her hands twisting in her lap. "What if I fail? What if I can't adjust? What if I'm not enough?" "You are enough," Jin-woo said, firmly, reaching out to touch her shoulder gently. "You've survived things most people couldn't even imagine. You are more than enough. You just need to trust yourself and trust that not everyone will hurt you." Amara swallowed, the lump in her throat growing. It had been months, maybe years, since anyone had told her she mattered, and the weight of it pressed on her chest until she felt like crying. That night, as she lay in her bed, she thought about her life on the streets, the hunger, the fear, the loneliness, and then about Jin-woo. His calm presence, his patience, his unwavering support. For the first time in her life, she considered the possibility that someone genuinely cared for her well-being. The next day brought a new challenge. Jin-woo handed Amara a small envelope. "This is your first step," he said. "It's not money. It's a chance. A choice. Open it when you feel ready." Amara's hands trembled as she took the envelope. She didn't open it immediately. Instead, she clutched it, feeling the weight of possibilities it represented. Later that evening, she finally opened it. Inside were materials, sketchbooks, pencils, brushes, and a note. "I see something in you that shouldn't be wasted. You have talent. Use it. Don't let the world tell you otherwise." Amara stared at the note, tears spilling over. She hadn't drawn in years, had almost forgotten the joy it used to bring her. And yet, here was a second chance handed to her unconditionally. You really think I can do this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't just think it," Jin-woo replied. "I know it. But the choice is yours, and I'll support you every step of the way." For the first time, Amara felt a surge of something she hadn't felt in ages: hope. Days turned into weeks, and Amara's confidence grew. She began to draw, sketching the world around her, expressing emotions she had long buried. Jin-woo watched quietly, sometimes offering small suggestions, sometimes just encouraging her to continue. One evening, as the two of them reviewed her latest sketches, Amara paused, her eyes misty. I never thought I'd have this chance," she said softly. "A place to be safe, a chance to create, to just exist without fear." "You deserve it," Jin-woo said simply. "And don't ever forget that." The bond between them deepened, but life outside the mansion began to intrude. Paparazzi snapped photos of Amara arriving and leaving. Whispers of gossip started to spread, and social media exploded with speculation. Headlines read, "Billionaire takes mysterious homeless girl into mansion. Who is this girl living with Park Jin-woo?" Amara panicked. She had just started trusting someone again, and now the world was threatening to unravel everything she had just begun to build. "Maybe I should leave," she whispered one night, voice trembling. "I don't want to ruin your reputation. They'll think I'm using you, or worse." "You're not ruining anything," Jin-woo said firmly, his eyes locking with hers. "You're not a problem. You're a person I care about. And if the world can't see that, it's their issue, not ours. But the media, the gossip." Amara's voice cracked. "Let them talk," he said, softer now, almost tender. "We know the truth, and that's what matters." Amara nodded slowly, but the anxiety didn't fully leave her. She still felt fragile, like a bird testing its wings after months in a storm. Jin-woo reached out, gently taking her hand. Don't run from kindness, he said quietly. Not now. Not ever again. Amara's heart swelled. She wanted to believe him, to hold on to the fragile hope that had started to grow within her. And for the first time in months, she allowed herself to feel safe, truly safe. Before we continue, a quick note to everyone watching. If you're feeling inspired by Amara's journey, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment below to share how this story made you feel. Your support helps stories like this reach more people who need hope. The following morning, Amara woke with a mixture of excitement and dread. Today, she would face the world outside the mansion walls, however briefly. Jin-woo had insisted she attend a small art workshop downtown to meet other aspiring artists. He believed exposure and guidance would help her grow. But Amara was hesitant. The outside world had been cruel for so long, and the headlines from yesterday still haunted her. I don't know if I'm ready, she admitted, tying her shoes. You're ready, Jin-woo said, leaning against the doorway with his characteristic calm. You're stronger than you think, and no matter what happens, I'll be right here when you get back. Her heart raced as they stepped into the car. She stared out the window, watching the streets she had once called home. Places that had hurt her, places that had almost destroyed her. And now she was returning as someone different, someone with hope, with opportunity, with someone who believed in her. At the workshop, Amara felt a mix of awe and intimidation. The room was filled with talented artists, some seasoned, some beginners like her. She hesitated, then set up her materials, glancing nervously at the others. A kind woman with a warm smile noticed her hesitancy and leaned over. First time here? She asked gently. Yes, Amara admitted. I haven't really drawn in a while. Then this is perfect, the woman said encouragingly. Just let your hands do the talking. Don't overthink it. Amara took a deep breath and picked up a pencil. Slowly, carefully, she began to sketch. At first, her lines were shaky, unsure. But as the minutes passed, her confidence returned. Shapes emerged. Shadows and light began to form. Emotions she hadn't expressed in years flowed onto the page. Fear, hope, sadness, and strength. Jin-woo watched from a corner, silently proud. He could see the change in her posture, the spark in her eyes. This was more than talent. It was resilience, a spirit that refused to be crushed. When Amara finally finished, the instructor walked over and looked at her sketch. Her breath caught as she waited for judgment. This is incredible, the woman said. The emotion, the depth. You have a rare gift. Amara's cheeks flushed, disbelief and pride mixing in a storm of emotion. Jin-woo approached and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You see, he said softly, I told you. For the first time, Amara smiled without reservation. She felt seen, acknowledged and valued, not for what she had endured, but for who she was. But as they left the workshop, the outside world reminded her it was never far away. A group of paparazzi spotted them and snapped photos. Flashbulbs went off, and the usual whispers and speculations started to spread once more. Amara froze, panic rising. They're going to ruin everything, she said, voice tight with fear. Jin-woo took her hand firmly. Let them talk, he said. We know the truth. That's what matters. Your life, your talent, your journey. That's real, not what they write. Back at the mansion, Amara retreated to her room, still anxious. She stared at her sketches on the desk, tracing the lines with her fingers. Jin-woo knocked softly before entering. You're doing amazing, he said simply. Don't let anyone steal that from you. Tears spilled down Amara's cheeks, not from fear this time, but from relief, gratitude, and something deeper she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years: belonging. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything, for trusting me, for giving me a chance." Jin-woo knelt beside her chair. "You don't need to thank me. Just keep moving forward. Keep drawing. Keep living." Weeks passed, and Amara continued to grow. She poured herself into her art, sometimes sketching late into the night, sometimes experimenting with colors, textures, and forms. Jin-woo provided guidance when asked, but mostly gave her space, knowing that true growth came from freedom and trust. Then came the pivotal moment. One evening, Amara showed Jin-woo a sketch she had been working on in secret. It was unlike anything she had drawn before. A powerful, raw image of a hand reaching down from the clouds, grasping another hand below, a lifeline from darkness to light. I don't know if this is good enough," Amara said nervously. Jin-woo studied it closely, eyes widening in awe. "This is incredible," he said. "More than good. This tells a story. It's emotional, raw, and powerful. It's exactly what the world needs to see." Amara's heart raced. "You really think so?" "I don't think so," Jin-woo said with conviction. "I know so." With his encouragement, Amara prepared her first art exhibition. The mansion's grand hall was transformed into a gallery, and invitations went out to artists, collectors, and media alike. On opening night, Amara stood nervously among the guests, feeling a mixture of excitement and terror. This was her moment, her work, her talent, her life, exposed for the world to see. As the doors opened, the room filled with people. Gasps, whispers, and applause followed as visitors stopped at her pieces, captivated by the emotion conveyed through her work. Jin-woo stayed in the background, watching silently, pride swelling in his chest. When Amara reached the central piece, the hand reaching down, she noticed the crowd's reaction. Many were moved to tears, some were inspired, and several approached her with questions, admiration, and praise. This is amazing," one woman said, clutching her sketchbook. "How did you create something so powerful?" Amara smiled shyly, glancing at Jin-woo, who gave her an encouraging nod. It's about hope," she said softly, "about being lifted when you feel like you're falling, about never giving up." Later that evening, as the exhibition began to quiet down, Amara unveiled the dedication she had written on her main piece, "For the man who stopped when everyone else kept walking." Jin-woo approached, emotion clear in his eyes. "You did it," he said, voice thick. "You believed in yourself. I'm so proud of you." Amara felt tears sting her eyes again. "I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted. You gave me a chance when no one else would. You believed in me." Jin-woo smiled, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "I didn't give you anything you didn't already have. You just needed someone to see it, and I'm honored to have been that person." As the night came to a close, Amara walked through the gallery one last time, gazing at her art. Each piece told a story, her story, a story of survival, resilience, and hope. And finally, she could see herself not as a victim of her past, but as a creator of her future. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts below, because hope, kindness, and second chances can change lives. And sometimes, the people we help end up helping us too. Amara stood beside Jin-woo, smiling for the first time without reservation. The stormy nights, the fear, the pain, they were behind her. Ahead lay possibility, growth, and a life she could finally call her own. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she felt she could face it without fear. And in that moment, she knew, being seen, being helped, and believing in herself had transformed her life forever.